America is football. Football is America.
Football is America. And if you don't like it, you can kiss your candy ass off a particular moment in time. I don't give a damn.
Oh, they're calling
Oh my God.
No.
You love this.
30 to 27. Chiefs win. Chiefs win 30 to 20.
Monday night, we have the Philadelphia Eagles traveling to Tampa Bay. There were stories that just emerged today about Nick Sirianni potentially not having a job. We talked about him and his coaching. Then it came out and they said, no, that's not actually true. What do we know? Well, where there's smoke, there's usually a fire. And when you go into the playoffs 1-5 after starting 10-1, there's going to be a little bit of fire somewhere. And the Eagles just have not been themselves. They look super beatable. Their offenses, they tried to put their starters in against the Giants and ended up sitting them because they were getting blown out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like exactly the opposite of a confidence booster going into this game. But on the other side, it kind of worked out nicely for Philly because they're going to play probably the least deserving team in the playoffs who just kind of ended up in here by default. Like they deserve to be here because they won their division, but this was a weak division. But Tampa is going to be hosting. And the problem is, like, I want to say like this worked out great for the Eagles because they get to play Tampa, but I just don't know if I'm there right now to think that the Eagles are going to be able to take advantage of that. Like they don't seem like the kind of team that could really capitalize on this type of opportunity right now. And Jalen Hurts, I really do trust him, and I trust Jason Kelce. I do love the Baker Mayfield story. Tampa Bay also hosted a playoff game last year. I think they lost like 40-0 or something like that, 40-3 or whatever it was. Tom Brady, bad game. I think this could be something. I don't want to say it could be a blowout, but I'm going to take the Eagles here. I'm going to take Jalen Hurts. I'm going to take Jason Kelce. I'm going to take AJ Brown, who just the one thing though, man, is like everything just feels like it's going awful for the Eagles. Like the coaching, the stories, the headlines, the losing. We're hearing AJ Brown scrubbed all of Philly stuff off his social media and deleted his Twitter. He did this today. So like,
oh God,
it just seems like everything's falling apart. And literally, if they don't have Jalen Hurts, I'm probably going Tampa. But to me, Jalen Hurts is one of the strongest leaders in the NFL, not just at the quarterback position, but as a player. He's a professional and he's talented and he's smart, he's poised, he's calm, he's everything that you want your franchise. He's packaged up like you created him. And yeah, he hasn't been doing that great, but they lost their offensive coordinator, their defensive coordinator. And no, I don't expect Philly to come out and it's like, oh, where's this been all year? But I do expect Jalen Hurts to win against Baker Mayfield. I don't know if it's going to be 14-17, something like that. But I'm going with the Eagles here because I think Jalen Hurts is the better quarterback. And I also think that the Eagles have the better defense, even though they've been really bad lately too. It's just, Jalen Carter, this team has no business going 1-5 in their final 6. And I just like the Chiefs. I don't think a switch is going to get flipped, but I also don't think that they need to flip the switch against Tampa. All they got to do is halfway flip it, and then they can do the other half next week. And that's what I'm going with. Philly, probably an ugly game. I'm going to say 14-17 Eagles.
Oh, okay. I like that. And we're pretty close too, because I couldn't agree more with what you're saying. I've also got the Eagles in this one. I've got them 20-13 Eagles in this game. So we're right there with each other. And I believe as well that, look, the Baker Mayfield story is just awesome, man. Last year, what does he do? He gets traded to the Rams, the Thursday night football game that really will go down, I believe, in history, right? Like, how quickly can a guy who got traded to a team in 2 days lead them to a win in a last minute, throw to Van Jefferson. It was ridiculous. It was an awesome story. And Baker Mayfield, I think at that point, won a job for this following season, right? And what did he do with that job that he got in Tampa Bay? He won the division for the NFC South. He won it for the Bucs. He won it with a Hall of Fame wide receiver, future Hall of Fame wide receiver, Mike Evans, a Rachaad White running back who is doing damage in the running back position. Baker Mayfield is such a great story, man, and one that really shouldn't go unnoticed in what will be the history of Baker Mayfield, right? Former first round pick, goes to Cleveland, does great things in Cleveland. When they picked him, I've said this before on the show, but I was like, this is the guy. Baker Mayfield is the guy. He doesn't really have too many issues. He's a good quarterback. He's level-headed. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's going to lead the Browns to the promised land. And what does he do? He leads them to the playoffs. They love Baker Mayfield. And what happens? Kevin Stefanski, the ownership, find a situation in which they can acquire Deshaun Watson, and they do it. And Baker Mayfield is like, my world has just been rocked. This guy was in commercials in the stadium for the Browns. This guy was loved by the fans and brought them to their first playoffs in a long time. When Browns fans had names of their quarterbacks, all the quarterbacks they had in the last 20 years on one jersey, and you're like, this is the guy. He had one down year because he was injured, and all of a sudden they move on like that. Great story for Baker Mayfield. Unfortunately, just like you said, Kyle, I'm taking Jalen Hurts. I'm taking the team who was just in the Super Bowl last year. You're right. They do not deserve to be in a spot that they're in. These are the two lesser teams in the playoffs. Really, when you look at it, these are the two worst teams in the playoffs heading into this wild card weekend. Going into this, they're 1-5. The Bucs are in the NFC South. Again, a division that most fans would tell you do not deserve to host a game in the playoffs.
Definitely not.
Right? Like that's just what it is. And all that being said about the Bucs and Baker Mayfield, I'm still taking the Eagles because of AJ Brown, because of Devontae Smith, because of a guy named Jalen fucking Hurts, Nick Sirianni, and Goddard. Yeah.
DeAndre Swift.
DeAndre Swift, Gainwell, all these guys on this team are ridiculous. And look, they have suffered. Nick Sirianni and this Eagles team have suffered from their coordinators leaving, which was huge. You got Gannon leaving. You've got, I forget who their defensive guy was, but you got them leaving. And all of a sudden this team looks bad. Now Philly doesn't want Nick Sirianni in the head coaching position. They don't want Sirianni anywhere near this team. But they're still in the playoffs. They're an 11-6 team or 12-5, whatever it is. They Sirianni got cocky against the Chiefs. Can you hear me now, Chiefs fans? Ever since then, 1-5. And Eagles fans, even though they've just been in the Super Bowl last year, are asking for this guy's head. And you're like, what? But they are very, very, I feel like the NFL backs them up in what they're saying. The production isn't there. The last few games going to playoffs isn't there. You lost the NFC East division to the Cowboys. You could have had it. You lose that. Of course fans are going to be mad. But I'm taking them because of all those names that I said, the way they play when it gets to the playoffs. I feel like the Eagles in the last couple of years can be one of those teams, like you said, can flip the switch. Do they need to completely flip the switch against Tampa? No, they don't. But they definitely need to improve on what they've done over the last couple of weeks, because it is really embarrassing what's happened in Philly. But if they can win this, I think you're going to have the fans back. I think you're going to have the fans backing you up. And if Nick Sirianni and this Eagles team can do it in a very, very convincing fashion, more than 20 points, you're talking 30 points, and you put the Bucs at like 13, 14, the fans all of a sudden, they are bought back in. The Eagles are now, to the fans, we're going to the fucking Super Bowl. No one's in our way. You are all of a sudden bought all the way back in. Sirianni's job is no longer a thought. This is our guy. And that's just how it goes, man. That's just how it goes to be a fan. They are the 8th best rush team in the NFL. And while the Bucs have an amazing run defense. Like you said, and like I said, Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, that's going to be the difference in this game. I'm taking them over Baker Mayfield and unfortunately Mike Evans. But Mike Evans won a Super Bowl already, so he's good. I'm taking the Eagles 20-13 against the Bucs on Monday night.
All right, and just a couple injury things. So Jalen Hurts was upgraded to a full participant in practice, and then AJ Brown remains out but this game's on Monday, and I think they're just, hey, don't do anything. We need you for this game. Just stay at home.
Don't look at anything.
Yeah. AJ's remained out of practice Friday with a knee injury, keeping his status for Monday's game up in the air. And then Reed Blankenship, the safety, groin. Safety Sidney Brown, knee, also remained out of practice. And then receiver Devontae Smith has an ankle. Darius Slay has a knee. DeAndre Swift is just sick. So there is kind of the chips falling for the Bucs right now. A lot of those names that we just said, they may play, but clearly not at 100%. They're not going to play. And I think what makes it so difficult for us is that the Bucs got into this game by winning 9-0 against the Panthers. That's how they ended up here. Now, if they would have had the game that they had in Green Bay, where Baker had a perfect passer rating in December in Lambeau, first quarterback ever, and threw 3 touchdown passes and 300 yards like he did in that game, like I think we would all be like Bucs, right? But
yeah,
we've just seen like really high highs, but we've seen some low places too from this Bucs team. And it's almost like, what are we going to get out of the Bucs? Like, what Bucs are going to show up? Are they going to score 9 points or 30 points? Is Mike Evans going to get 2 touchdowns or 1 catch? Is Chris Godwin going to get a touchdown, or is he going to get 3 targets? Like, there's so much. Is Rachaad White going to have 100 yards, or is he going to have 17? Like,
yeah,
a little bit of an exaggeration, but those are all fair questions surrounding the Buccaneers. And it's not like Todd Bowles is some offensive guru. Like, you saw what him and Tom Brady looked like last year, and this is kind of the same shit. And how did that work out for the Bucs in the playoffs last year? Well, they had a tougher opponent in the Cowboys at that particular moment in time. But you got to go with the Eagles here. Now there's a lot of people backing the Bucs because that it's like that switch that we're expecting, even if it halfway turns. I don't think it's going to turn the way we think it's going to. And here's my bold prediction. The Eagles win this game, but it's not going to be because of all of those players that you mentioned. I think that the stats for the wide receivers are going to be underwhelming by the end of the game. But I do think Jalen Hurts is going to run for 100 yards in this game. I think Jalen Hurts gets over 100 yards on the ground. I think that what we've seen all season, where he literally likes to run as a last resort, and he just really wants to throw the ball. I don't think you're going to get that in this game. And if you need film to see what I'm talking about, go look at the Eagles-Packers game last year on Sunday Night Football, where Hurts literally took off almost every play in the first half. He had 100 yards in the first half rushing. So don't forget, Jalen Hurts can do that, and I wouldn't be surprised with the way the season's gone, the way AJ Brown's acting with the social media and Twitter and all that, just the way Sirianni, like the way everything is, I could see Jalen Hurts just taking over this game and just running a lot in this game.
Yeah.
And that is going to be one of my key matchups in this one for the Bucs. It is and I wrote it down here. Where is it? Oh no, that's not where I wrote it. Here it is. Levante David, linebacker for the Buccaneers. He's an elite run stopper whose speed in diagnosing the opposition and making tackles will be critical for Tampa Bay to grind down Philadelphia's powerful rushing attack. Is he going to be able, and this is going to be even more of a key factor, because I think Jalen Hurts is going to be more of a running threat than he has been this season so far. I think that they're going to run a lot of those RPOs, and I think he's going to keep it a lot of those times. And I think there's going to be a lot of third down, 3rd and 13s where he just takes off and just kind of turns into Tebow time or something. I don't, you know what I mean? Just like, oh, we're going to fucking win this game, even if I got to, put all you on my back. And that's why I think it's going to be like a low scoring, messy game. But Jalen Hurts, I think he's the X factor in this game.
I love that.